Hi everybody, you're listening to the Khandaan Podcast by the You Podcast team, a bi-weekly podcast revisiting the movies of Amir Khan, Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan.
Every show we pick a random year from 3 decades of collectively 300 films the Khans have done and let our listeners vote which movie we should talk about. So it's entirely up to you.
Pick a team, make a vote, take us down nostalgia lane, punish us, or make us reassess a movie we dismissed.
We love the Khans, most of us, sometimes. And we would love for you all to be part of our Khandaan, because when it comes to the Khans in Bollywood, nothing else really matters.
Welcome to episode 93 of Khandaan Podcast. Yeah,
Woo!
93. We made it. Guys, by the way, should we do something special for episode 100? I think we need to ask our audience what they want us to do, right?
Yeah.
Send us some idea. I think we want to do something special. I don't know what you want us to do. Days and years and episodes have no meaning, but I think,
TikTok
even
challenge.
that... Dude, you have been people will start demanding this TikTok shit from you. You've been asking about it too much. You've been talking about it too much.
I don't want to hype up things, but I bought a ring light.
I bought a ring light too.
So I've been spending pretty much the last couple of months just reading up and watching resources on what not to do, avoid all the mistakes. So I've been avoiding all the mistakes by doing nothing. You make 100% of them. You don't make 100% of the mistakes by doing 0%.
Is that Michael Scott that says that?
Possibly.
Oh God. So let us know what you want us to do. I think we have a few ideas floating around, but we've not locked anything in. They're still 7 episodes away, and the way the world is going, anything can happen or nothing can happen. So let's see.
Also, we are out of ideas, so we are just going to crowdsource ideas for our 100th episode.
Yeah. And I think, for a podcast to exist for 100 episodes, it's kind of special, right? Because we're running on fumes here, guys. I'm basically running on fumes and protein. That's the only thing I have in me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get the show started. We're gonna we still have a few emails that we want to talk about, a few messages that we got, and some of the stuff we've been watching. Next episode, we're going to be discussing Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam with a special guest. So that's going to be for the next episode. Let's start with a voice message we got regarding our discussion about my inability to understand Joseph Vijay's stardom. And Aditya, our former guest and friend of the show from the other Banana podcast, Aditya, sent us a little message about Vijay. So here it is.
I was wondering where to start with Vijay, but probably an ideal parallel to go with is Salman Khan. This is off the cuff, and there might be some who disagree, but there seems to be a similar trajectory. Both have film industry fathers with a decent to solid filmography. Vijay's dad is a director. Vijay too started off doing these romantic roles before a complete shift to the action masala star image that he made for himself in the early 2000s. Sort of an attempt to become the next Rajinikanth. He hit gold with Gilli, which is a remake of Telugu Mahesh Babu hit that further solidified, with Pokiri, another Mahesh Babu Telugu film which eventually became Salman's Wanted, the one that actually made Salman break away from the Khan triumvirate and be his own thing. But that's also where the similarities end. I wonder what Asim is going to say, but Vijay is actually talented. He's great in two things, and good for him because they are quite handy to become the mass masala hero. He's great with dancing. His dancing skills are amazing, and he made a name for himself with his moves long before his transition to this action hero today. And he's great at comedy. That really helps him in the roles that he plays because he has to do everything. And frankly, he's limited. He's not Dhanush or he's not Vijay Sethupathi who can just about do anything. But to his credit, he rarely, if ever, comes across as disinterested or non-committed in his roles. He absolutely turns it on when he's on camera, and shockingly turns it off when he's not, because both Vijay and his rival star Ajit stay away from the media limelight. Vijay speaks to his fans through the audio release events of his films and nowhere else. And he's famously shy and seeks to be in the shadows otherwise. And both of them live off this method. Unlike in Hindi, Vijay or Ajit or even Nayanthara don't promote their films. The films promote themselves, and their name on the marquee is all it takes for Ajit and Vijay to guarantee a huge opening. A lot of people won't say it out loud, but as far as Tamil mass cinema is concerned, it is a Vijay and Ajit world we live in, and even Rajini needs some PR missionary to kick off his films.
Okay, so, I mean, I think Aditya is trying to, trigger me with comparing this guy to Salman. I see what you're doing, man. I see the moves. I mean, I like a bit more of a context that they're provided. I still don't get it. And I think the reason is because I haven't seen any of his dancing necessarily in the movies that I've seen him in. And the comedy is so specific to, being local that it wouldn't work for me.
You're not in on it,
Yeah, I don't get it, right? So, Amrita, did it illuminate anything for you?
Yeah, it makes sense to me, like what Aditya was saying. Like, I can see it.
Like, I saw the recent Master movie, right, with him and Vijay Sethupathi, and the whole intro song, which is Anirudh's almost trademark soundtrack, the mass song, right? And Vatti Coming is what the title track the track is, and it went viral. It's got hundreds and hundreds of millions of views on YouTube, and it is the same shtick if you were to compare with what Salman Khan does with the Dhinka Chika, or Jalwa, he is barely moving, but it's the Bhai ka swagger that is doing all the work rather than Bhai actually dancing. That's what I compare to what Vijay does with Bhakti Coming. And so I get the comparison. It's just that I also think that, if Allu Arjun were to dance to that same track, he would have elevated into another level.
Yeah.
So yeah, it doesn't take much to appreciate. I don't need to be in that fandom to appreciate what Allu Arjun can bring. I need to belong into that sphere of fandom to appreciate Vijay's quote-unquote greatness, I suppose. And I'm not in that.
Yeah. I mean, I immediately balk when somebody compares somebody to Salman. So, I'm very much ingrained with the Salman fandom. So I'm like, my first reaction was, but Salman is so much prettier. How can you even compare them? But, it's just fandom, right? I don't get it. So I think if you take away the fandom, the comedy doesn't work for me. The emotional scenes that he was in really didn't work for me.
Yeah.
But we're going to be talking about Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, right? A lot of these emotional scenes work how much you are part of that fandom. And if you're just like an outsider, it just looks ridiculous. So yeah, it did look ridiculous to me.
It would be interesting to see how people who are not familiar with the Salman fandom, for them to explore Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam for the first time and see how they actually react to it. But I guess that's a conversation for the next episode.
Yeah, for sure. Let's move on. Aditya, thank you so much. People can check out the Other Banana podcast. It's a great podcast dealing about, more South Indian movies than we do. We'll add a link to the show. And Amrita, you've been a guest many, many times. I still have not received an invite ever from them. But that's okay. That's okay.
That's because you come on this podcast and you're like, I don't get it. It all sucks.
Okay. But yeah, we'll definitely get Aditya back on, and Max, obviously Max is a good friend too, so we'll get him on too. So we're looking forward to that. Let's move on to, we got a few more reviews that we received, and we like reading them, not only because they big us up, but also because it kind of gives us an idea about what our listeners are going through. So I'm gonna kind of read a few of those, if that's okay. So this one is sent in from the States, from SG 2050, and this says
it's from the future.
Khandaan Podcast, so fun podcast to brighten your day. I love Bollywood movies and even more dissecting them. So listening to this podcast has been fun and full of nostalgia. I was a bit miffed at discovering it so late, mid-2020, but this meant I had a lot of content to consume during the pandemic. I dreaded episodes of iffy movies like Chori Chori Chupke Chupke, but even those turned out to be fun with lots of Bollywood gossip. Apart from Bollywood, the hosts also discussed the latest popular shows, Indian or otherwise, giving an escape Netflix scrolling. Finally, I really appreciated the host doing the podcast regularly through the rough year that was 2020. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you for appreciating it, because it was rough. It was rough. I don't know how we made it.
Yeah, especially that run of like Corona episodes that we had, like, you know, like that was really tough. Like we were all going insane. So it's especially sweet to have people appreciate those episodes.
So like March, we went into lockdown, right? And I thought, what are we going to do? Are we going to continue with the podcast? And Asim just doubled down. Like, we are going to record weekly now.
That is such an awesome move, right? Like, when things get dumb, you're just gonna do more.
Yeah.
That's like, you know, my philosophy in life, but I sometimes forget I'm, you know, dragging other people with me. So thank you for indulging me during that period. But it's funny because re-listening to those episodes, it really shows our mental state. You know, it's almost like a diary of that era.
Yeah.
And sometimes you don't want to revisit it, but it was rough, man. We were going through some shit, like, and now like a year further, it's been a year. It's actually been a year of this nonsense, and we're still in lockdown, and we're still, you know, but you know what it is? And I was listening to some other podcast talk about this, like, you know, we've not met our friends, right? Like in the last year, or family and even, but I mean, I speak more with you guys now than I speak with my actual, like, friends that I used to, you know, go hang out and have coffee with and all that kind of stuff. And I'm kind of okay with it. Like, at least I have you guys, right? Like,
thank you, Asim, for sending biryani.
And cake, like, you know, like this is how we say
it pays to be friends with Asim, to be honest.
Yeah, it really does.
I'll go over to the next one because I'm getting slightly embarrassed. Be a part of history. Hey guys, I really enjoy your podcast, but given the state of India, it's hard to keep listening and pretending like all is well in that country. I think it's high time that you address what's going on there and use your platform to help spread awareness. I'm not saying dedicate an episode, but maybe allocate 5 to 10 minutes at the start of each episode till the issue is resolved. What? Like, it's sorry, dude. I don't think we can do this. We can't resolve these issues on a podcast. If the government wins the battle, India will become a fascist state. In what democracy are independent reporters jailed for showing the truth while traitors like Arnab run scot-free? I hope everyone realizes it's not just about some farm laws anymore, but that government created unrest with Notebandi, then went after Muslims. Dude, I think your timeline is a bit off, but Kashmir students and now farmers tried to paint Sikhs as Khalistanis, the enemy, like they did in 1984, but failed miserably thanks to social media. They will then further divide Hindus based on caste. The country will be sold and it will be too late to take action. Please do your part. Please help people wake up and rise up. Thank you. This is from La La Land in Canada. Amrita, what do you want to say on that?
Look, I've been very clear, like, this is not a political podcast. This is a film podcast, and that's what we discuss. We discuss films. Now, films have a socio-political context, and we discuss that. So we've been discussing these issues for a very long time because these things keep coming up as we watch films, like if you're watching something that's massy and, they keep telling us that you shouldn't be thinking about, politics and stuff when you're watching something silly and massy. And, that's something that we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, that you can't just turn off the context. So we have been talking about stuff, and we can talk about it when it organically comes up, and it organically comes up quite a lot these days, sadly. So, we have that, but I don't think this is going to be a political podcast anytime soon.
I do think that, when people sort of hold us on a pedestal to spread the message and be responsible, that is quite unfair on us in a way, because I don't think we can influence people like that. I don't think of myself in that context at all. But also at the same time,
Can I just say, you sound like Shah Rukh.
Thank you, Amrita. You made my day.
This is like every Shah Rukh interview that he gave in the 90s, where he's like, I am nobody's idol, like, mujh pe ye mat dalo.
But yeah, go for it, Asim.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think I can comment, but because clearly it's your internal matters, right? So, what do you want me to say, right?
We just went like 2 weeks ago, Rihanna and Greta Thunberg being called, like, go interfere in other matters. This is our internal ghar ka mamla,
Yeah.
But I mean, it organically comes into conversation, given that we will be talking about when Family Guy season 2 comes out, and it's been going in the ringer to probably another edit session because of what Tandav went through, and nobody wants to get involved. So yeah, I mean, the government of India is interfering in everything from creative liberties to personal liberties to everything else, and we do talk about it often on this show.
Yeah, I think you mean Family Man, not Family Guy.
Family Man, yeah, that's the one. The Manoj Vajpayee on Amazon.
I mean, I think for me it's kind of tough. Like, it's I am a Pakistani, clearly, right? Like, or at least my background is. So I do feel it's a bit weird for me to give my opinions about these things. I can broadly talk about, fascism, or, how certain things irk me from a personal point of view, which I would as well do if I was watching Pakistani content or I was watching Hollywood content, But it does make me sad, like the way things are being shaped in India, the oppression that people are, subjugated to. But yeah, for me, it's kind of a tough situation because I am not Indian in any way, shape or form. So I am still kind of an outsider looking in, even though I speak the language barely. But it's kind of like I feel I don't need, like, I know I ask questions sometimes and I let you guys actively, take that opinion where I don't, because I don't feel I can necessarily talk about it. So I do kind of try to measure myself. But yeah, from an objective point of view, we want to talk about things through the lens of film. And unfortunately, the way things are going, Takht got cancelled, right? Like, that's been confirmed now.
What? That's news. That's news for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Takht has gotten cancelled. So that's sad. That makes me sad because
I thought
that
there was just a teaser came out, right? Like 1 week ago.
Yeah. No. It got cancelled. I mean, that's what I read, the piece at least, that budget-wise, corona-wise, and also just the Muslim of it all, the timing is just not right for Dharma to put that much money. That's what I read. Now, again, with Bollywood news, it's never sure. But that's what I mean, like that kind of cancellation, because I do feel the Muslim of it all is a much bigger issue than anything else. And that was always going to be an issue, even when we were talking about the casting back in the day and how they're going to broach these subjects. Because it's hard to now make a Jodha Akbar the way the state in India is. And what's looking like we're going to be or seeing, mythological movies. There's been like 3 religious movies announced with all big casting, or there's going to be sports movies, or there's going to be about, biographies about some, Indian Hindu kind of political figure that's now getting kind of being put on a pedestal, and Kangana Ranaut movies. So
yeah, I mean, I saw a tweet by Karan Johar, which is on the February 1st. He is still saying releasing 24/12 this year, but there have been reports of it getting delayed, but not shelved as such. So I don't know.
I definitely read a piece about it. I'll try to find it.
Okay.
But it makes sense, right? If they say tomorrow we're shelving Takht, would it not make sense to you?
I don't know.
I would say that would probably be the best course of action for Dharma, honestly speaking, because the kind of vitriol that Karan evokes online, it is insane. Like he's done anything, he's done pretty much all he can to become part of the right-wing ecosystem. He flies his friends over to meet with Modi and have like photo sessions and does everything. But because he's a gay man, basically, that's what it is. He's never going to get the kind of acceptance or, they're always going to use him as a sort of wedge issue. It doesn't matter what he does. And he doesn't seem to have understood that. Like, I don't think he can see that he is a target, but I don't think he understands just how impossible it is for him to, or maybe he does, I don't know.
But what is he going to do about it, though? Even if he understands it, he's working against the system, and the system is not ready to accept him.
I mean, if I were in his shoes, then I would just basically be like, screw this shit and just, go all out in the other direction. But that's me. Like, I don't have 2 kids. I'm not entrenched in Bombay. Like, if I had Karan Johar's money and resources, like, I don't even know if I'd stay in Bombay, The movies that he makes are anyway fantasy and they're all shot abroad. So I don't even understand why he has to stay in Bombay. Like, he can just go anywhere he wants and make his Fantasyland Hindu wonderful, family sagas anywhere he wants. So I don't get it, but who knows? But yeah, I didn't know that it was shelved.
So the article I'm referring to was from the February the 3rd on Bollywood Hungama. Karan Johar shelves his ambitious project Takht starring Ranveer Singh, Kareena Kapoor Khan and Alia Bhatt. So I'll add it to the show notes, but yeah, I didn't.
I know that they had financing problems. Dharma's been overextended for a bit, and they had some sort of tie-up with Fox, I think, back in 2020. But with COVID and everything, I think that has fallen into a bit of a mess as well, because Fox has also been going through some major shit. So I think that might be it as well.
So here they're saying the source continues, Takht is based on Mughal history. The current political climate is volatile and you never know when things can get ugly. We all saw what happened with Sanjay Leela Bhansali's Padmavat. Karan felt that there's no way he can risk taking such a project in such times, as a lot of money would be then at stake. As a result, Karan Johar has decided to shelf Takht for now. He might revive the project maybe after a couple of years. Say the managers of the actors have...
Yeah, I don't know anything about that. But also, I know, that Ranbir Kapoor superhero movie with Ayan Mukherjee. That's been bleeding Dharma dry for 5 years now. So, and there's no end in sight apparently, so.
Yeah. I mean, Liger needs to be like a supremo hit. That's what they're all banking on then. That's the movie. So, I mean, yeah, to get back to the message, I mean, we're going to try continue what we're doing, talk about it as woke, liberal, elitist, privileged people that we are, and try to, talk about it as much as we can. But I don't think we can do exactly what you're asking us to do, La La Land. But I thank you for enjoying the podcast in any case and leaving us a nice review. What else? We had one more message on Insta that we wanted to do. This is an interesting one. This is from... So Viral Seth sent us this one. And Viral, we get your messages. We love that you listen to us with such fandom. We appreciate it really a lot. It's a long message, so I'm not going to read it. He enjoys our podcast. He works in the healthcare industry, so he's pulling 54 hours a week due to pandemic needs, and your podcast makes it easier for me. That's crazy, man. Like, wow. Yeah. Viral, amazing job, man. Like, you guys are the ones that are, giving all of us hope by, pulling these hours and doing these crazy, crazy sacrifices. So if our nonsense can, help you lighten that load a little bit, we have to thank you more than you have to thank us, He sent us some, he has 2 questions for us, and Viral, sorry, we should have thought about this earlier, but I'm reading it. I'm just going to throw this to Amrita and Sujoy and hope they catch the ball and see where it goes. I have 2 questions for all of you, and I'd love to hear from you. What's your most favorite Khan movie, individually or together? I don't think together we have one favorite one, right? I think when we did the poll best of the last decade, I think Bajrangi came up, right? That was the one we all kind of decided on.
Yeah, I think so.
I guess.
I think so, right? So what is? I mean, this is not. Is that a hard question? Sujoy, man, what's your favorite Khan movie?
I mean, off from the top of my head, Kabhi Ha Kabhi Na, Andaz Apna Apna, Karan Arjun. Those 3 come to my head. Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Dilwale Dulhania. Like, name them all. I don't care.
Guddu, Daulat Ki Jang, Yellow Brother.
No. All the movies that Pitu chose, they are not on the list. They go straight to disqualified,
I don't know, but if you have to say one, like if it's one, which one would it be? Tell me one.
Andaz Apna Apna is probably like the most rewatched Khan movie that I have sat through. It's highly quotable, and it contains 2 Khans, and I love a bargain. So,
what about you, Amrita?
I don't know. Like, it depends on my mood, right? Like what I want. I was thinking like maybe Om Shanti Om or like Talash maybe. I don't know. It would. I think like in terms of watchability, it's probably something from the 90s, right? Like that whole. And it's probably Shah Rukh more than anyone else, because I think that was just background noise to my life in the 90s. So yeah. It's a tough question.
So it's Guddu then.
Everybody that doesn't know the answer is Guddu. For me, yeah, again, it depends on the mood, and also on the genre. If we were talking about action or are we talking about comedy, it's very hard to kind of decide it that way. I think Andaz Apna Apna is definitely my favorite comedy. I think... but like in the 90s, there were there's some really shitty movies that I really, really like Veer Gati. We haven't gone to that one yet, but I really like that movie just because of that final action sequence, which is just bonkers. And it's like 20 minutes of bloody swordplay, which I love. And the rest of the movie is so bad. Probably a remake. I think I need to revisit that movie. Have you guys ever watched Veer Gati?
No.
Yeah.
But I do remember the movie poster, town, when it came into town, there was a huge, giant Salman Khan topless and with his jeans and pulling out a sword from somewhere. It was it was a graphic image, man.
I remember that too.
When that came out, right, I had like a very similar navy blue military shirt, like with short sleeves. And I was like pumping my biceps at that moment, like really hard. I was like so happy that I was like, yeah, I have the same shirt. My biceps are coming out. Like it's all good. Veer Gati was up there. But I think, I mean, honestly, Bajrangi Bhaijaan is really one of that I can rewatch anytime. It's such like a wholesome, good-hearted kind of movie. I really love that. Sultan, I really love. And even respect to the Tiger movies, like both the Tiger movies, I kind of really like them. So those are the ones I would go for if there was an ultimate.
Oh, and like new news on the Tiger front, like Imran Hashmi has been cast as the villain for the next Tiger sequel, so that's great.
That made me so happy. Imran's
really underrated, isn't he? Like, he's a really good performer. It's just that he gets all that nonsense attention for all the kisses and stuff, which honestly he can't kiss. So I don't know why. Like, it's one of the worst kisses on screen that I've ever seen in my life. But he's actually a really reliable performer, and I'm actually really excited for this Tiger movie with him in it.
You know how he kisses, I feel? when you're about to put puff pastry in the oven and then you have to brush it with egg wash. That's Imran Hashmi kissing, is that brush with egg wash. Blah, 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 blah.
I need a cold shower to get over that.
Yeah. And just imagine, like, a lot of boys have been like watching him and learning how to kiss. Poor girls, man. Like the things you have to go through. Terrible. Yeah. Terrible. But, also a lot of times we say, oh, Salman Khan, he's always, pushing these guys up and like nepotism and promoting. But this is like a good choice. Like, he tried with Bobby, and Bobby got a second career and a meme out of it, and jokes on Khandaan, and he's got a career again. And Imran Hashmi really deserves it, because there's no reason that Imran Hashmi doesn't have a career in Bollywood, right? Like, he's delivered the hits. He's a great actor. I've been on the Imran Hashmi train for a while. He's an excellent...
train pun.
Yeah, he's an excellent interviewee. Like, that Karan Johar episode with him and Mahesh Bhatt is probably one of the best Coffee and Karan episodes ever. Yeah, all good things. And I think as a foil, he'll be really good with Salman. Like, I just want to see if Salman will be able to convince Imran to pump up and take his shirt off. That's what I'm really thinking about more than anything.
I'm also very thankful for the second innings of Bobby, because we can get a Bobbywood Twitter account out of that.
Yeah.
I'm cheers to that,
Yeah. Thank you, Salman, for that. So second question Viral asked was, if there was to be a Hollywood remake of your favorite Khan movie, who would you cast in it? Desi actors not allowed. So let's use those movies that we just picked, and then we're going to do, like, we change, with a Hollywood actor in it, right? That's what we're trying to do, right? So Sujoy, which one did you pick now?
I'll say Karan Arjun for this remake, because I don't think how Andaz Apna Apna, maybe, like, I can't see people who can do that sort of a comedy in Hollywood. Maybe I don't know. Andaz Apna is too dear and sacred for me, that I can't see it being remade in that sort of tone. But Karan Arjun, I think, can be remade, or I can see it being remade, and it would be bizarre, but it would also be amazing if it's done correctly, with Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt, probably.
I would pay money for that.
Yeah. See?
I actually have casting for Andaz Apna Apna. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Donald Glover and Michael B. Jordan. Wouldn't that work? Think about it.
That would work.
Donald Glover as Amir Khan and Michael B. Jordan as Salman Khan. I think that would totally work. Amrita, what about you? Which Shah Rukh Khan movie do you want to remake with a Hollywood star?
I actually would like to see Talash with Pedro Pascal.
Ooh. Would you cast as the female roles?
That's actually a good question. Maybe like for the ghost, like maybe like Jodie Turner-Smith, like Karina's role, like because she has that glamour about her, and I bet she'd like really knock it out of the park.
How about Gina Carano?
She can play like Nawaz's character, get like murdered. Yeah, but that's the one that I was thinking.
Yeah, I mean, for me, if you're going with, something like Bajrangi Bhaijaan or something, then obviously Stallone or The Rock are probably the
Rock
best.
would do really well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the go-to. I think it's also because I've, picked like very kind of like macho heavy action movies. So that's probably the go-to then, right? If you would go for it. And I think you could make it, like bringing somebody to Mexico or something like that. I think there's probably some way to do it. Although maybe it would be interesting to have it the other way around. From Mexico, you go to the States and go through that border patrol thing. Could be fun. Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, those are my pick. I think my Andaz Apna Apna Pak is probably the best one still. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Let's start with the things we've been watching. Sujoy, you want to go first?
Yeah. So I've been binge watching an anime called JUJUTSU Kaisen on Crunchyroll. And unlike most Shonen Jump, animes with like 24 seasons of 90 episodes each or something. This one is a limited series one with just 24 episodes, and that would possibly be the end of story. 18 have aired now, so I've watched like 6 of them. It is interesting. It is really dark, and it's about, witches and dealing with curse energies, and a character gets to consume a demon, and he has to train how that energy works with him. So it's been very, very good. I'd recommend people to check out if that's your cup of tea. Other than that, I've been mostly having a very busy week for the last, I don't know how long, but so the only thing that has been keeping me company is Indian Idol. I've been watching and rewatching this season a lot, and I love a lot of the contestants this season. And it's also been like such great joy with the guests they have on the show. So for this season, they have brought like a lot of musical, veterans from the 80s and the 90s, music composers. They've also brought like Udit Narayan, Kumar Shanu, Alka Yagnik. The last episode, they brought Padmini Kolhapuri and Poonam Dhillon on the show, and they were singing their songs as well. And the sort of top 4 or 5 contestants that I have in mind, I really hope like they go all the way and make a giant career in the Indian music industry.
Is that kind of still the only like reality show you watch? Do you watch Big Brother and stuff like that still, or no?
No, I don't tend to. I probably like every few years I will drop in and out of the Indian reality TV scene. But like I used to watch Dance Plus with Remo D'Souza and his bunch of dancers. They all audition across the country and bring all these street dancers to the show. And then he makes a movie out of it. So good for him for building that universe.
Nice. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. Those 2 are the only ones that I've been watching. And I watched Stumptown, but I don't know what to think about that show right now.
It's really good, dude. Keep going. I love that show. I'm so sad that they cancelled it. But
I don't know if I should continue watching it then.
No, because it has like a nice ending. Like the story has kind of like I would recommend it, and it gets better and better. At the first, I thought it was just like a standard kind of cop show, but it gets much better the further you get along, and you really start to like these characters. But yeah, I think I gave my thoughts about that like in episode 54 or something like that. So people can go back and listen to that. And the anime show is called
JUJUTSU KAISEN.
And that's on Crunchyroll only, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Amrita, what did you watch?
So last week, Nim, who's Maple Brownie, and she's been on the podcast before, told me about this documentary on Vice. It's called Showgirls of Pakistan. And she was like really into it, and so I checked it out, and it was amazing. Like this thing really just blew my socks off. It was about these women who they work in what Pakistanis call drame, like theater basically. And it's like, you know how we have like dance bars in India. In Pakistan, apparently they have these government-run theaters where people put on shows, and it's really just to watch women dance. And so this was basically about their world. So Sal is here. Do we want to bring her on to the show?
Yes,
and then we can continue?
Great. I'm liking this new setup we have where we're talking about things and then our guest will jump in. So we have our guest that has jumped in. Sal, welcome to the show. We are so happy to have you on.
I am delighted, honored, and so excited to finally be on the, beloved Khandaan Podcast. I've been a long-time listener and admirer, and I'm glad to finally be on here with all of you.
Because what was the movie we tried to get you on last time? Because it was like, I think it was like, you were one of the first guests we thought we would bring on, and it didn't work out then, but it's been, I think we were even working with a voting and a polling system back then, so you didn't pick a movie, right? So, this is exciting. I'm really happy to finally have you on.
Yeah. This is a great movie to talk about because Bansali films are something that I have spent a lot of time thinking about, talking about, arguing about, writing about. So this is a good one for me to come and get very heated about.
Basically, the moment we said that we need to talk about Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam, we were all like, yeah, it has to be Sal. It can't be anyone else. And I was telling Asim about how I watched Showgirls of Pakistan. I don't know if you've seen it, but I've been talking about it on the timeline for quite a bit.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It's so good.
Great. So I was like telling Asim, Asim, did you watch it?
I watched an hour or so of it and I realized that I might have watched it before, or I've seen another documentary about the same topic. But I gotta say, I am kind of aware of this kind of subgenre of entertainment in Pakistan because the way they show it in the documentary, it's solely the dance theater in Lahore. But back in the day, or I don't know if it's still happening, this was also a part of like comedy theater, especially when you have like Umar Sharif shows back in the 80s that I used to watch. There always used to be a dance interlude in there, very oddly forced into the narrative of the story of, Bakra Kisto Pe. Suddenly you would have a dancer do like a 3-minute dance number in there. Yeah, I didn't watch the whole documentary, unfortunately. It was a bit long. I thought when you mentioned it, I thought it was going to be like one of those 30-minute Vice pieces, but they really go deep into it and it's like, 2 hours. So I didn't get a chance to finish it, unfortunately. But what I did watch, I really liked it.
So actually it's not like 2 hours. It's actually only about an hour and a half because the last hour, like 45 minutes to an hour, is actually an interview with the director, which was super interesting. Like incredibly in love with the director of this film, because he is so smart and he says all the things that, that I have felt and I have thought about, but I'm not articulate enough to put into words. Like he just blew my mind the way that he was talking about stuff. But yeah, this is basically about these women, and it's cis women and also trans women in Pakistan who are, Sal, would you say that they're sex workers or they're like sex work adjacent? How would you describe it?
I think it's sort of a mix of both, right? Because you have, they talk about, a specific part of the trans community in Pakistan, like the Khwaja Siraz, and then they also talk about these mujra dancers, which is the mujra they're talking about is very different from the kind that you see in Bollywood films, which I didn't realize at first, because, I would hear about mujra and I'd be like, oh, it's going to be very kind of like Rekha and Umrao Jan or whatever, but it's a much more provocative kind of thing. And then they're talking about that kind of liminal area between, sort of like sex work and, almost like nightlife entertainment, burlesque entertainment kind of. Which is a very interesting conversation to have now as well, because that's a conversation we're having with things like, celebrities and so on, getting on OnlyFans and things like that. And that conversation around what constitutes sex work and what it looks like, and, what protections do performers and sex workers deserve, and, who's been doing the work for the longest time and who's benefiting and so on. So I think this documentary also speaks to that conversation and that moment as well in these really interesting ways, because these are kind of these homegrown entertainments that have been around. And as Asim brought up, I'd completely forgotten about these dance interludes, but we used to get those comedy shows on video cassettes. And I remember like my dad would just fast forward through the dancing, because it was that era, your parents would either send you out of the room to get something, or they just without any kind of explanation, they'd fast forward through anything they deemed inappropriate. That was the kind of censorship that existed. But I'm like, suddenly so much is coming back to me, and, I was making those connections while I was watching, the material around the documentary, because I know some of the people who were involved in making it as well. So it was very interesting to see that perspective and think about it in the light of the conversation we're having around sex work, with this particular moment, with things happening on, OnlyFans and Just for Fans and all of that stuff, and, the queering and like the feminist conversation around sex work. So it was really, really kind of interesting to watch and think about, and in conversation with those things.
And I really appreciated like how the documentary wasn't condescending at all. Like I remember watching it and thinking like, wow, like this is really just presenting these women as hustlers, they're just like hustling to survive in a very patriarchal, very violent context where, they have no safety. They have, like, everybody's out to get them. The system's out to get them. Their clients are out to get them. Their families are out to get them. And they are still struggling to survive. And I remember appreciating that really a lot. And then when we had the interview with the director, and I really understood where he was coming from, and that, like he was coming from that kind of environment, and he saw himself as a part of that community. Maybe not the sex work community or the showgirl community per se, but he felt a certain class solidarity with these women. And he himself as like a gay man, like, he could clearly like see himself as part of that sort of community, which is, on the fringes, I guess, of respectability. And, it was so respectful, but also honest. And it was a glimpse into a very different world from anything that I have seen come out of the subcontinent of late. And it just blew my mind. Like I was transfixed the entire time, and especially the Lollywood references and stuff, like things that very few people discuss, if at all, outside of Pakistan, I guess. Because of course, when we are talking about cinema and we're talking about media out of South Asia, is generally Indian content that we talk about. So Pakistani and Bangladeshi content is hardly ever discussed. So this was like a really great way to just see all those influences come up. And so Sujoy, like this documentary starts with with that Urdu, voice, but they sort of update it. And it's actually kind of like really funny, but also like immediately I felt at home, as soon as the credits started playing, I was like, yeah, this is something that I understand. And it was so usually when Pakistanis discuss these films, like these Lollywood films and stuff, there's always and I realized it was like a class thing as I was listening to the interview with the director. But there's always a sense of cringe about it. A lot of Pakistanis would spend a lot of time talking about how it's really low class and vulgar and all that kind of stuff. You get the feeling that they really don't care for the B-movie stuff. And to watch these two guys, Saad and his partner, Joey, talk about their love for it and talk about, put it in context, they were talking about this particular film, this black and white Pakistani film called Dracula in Pakistan, which my new ambition is to watch that film because it's beautiful, the few frames that I saw of it. But it was deemed as a vulgar film. And obviously to me, if you say something is a vulgar film, I'm thinking of a certain kind of film, a certain kind of B-movie. And then Saad explains that the reason why that was deemed a vulgar film is because there was a dance sequence in it. And they show a few frames of that dance, and it is the most aesthetically beautiful thing that I have ever seen. And I was just like, what is happening here? And now I'm just interested in Pakistani film in a way that I wasn't before I watched this documentary. So this documentary does so many different things at once. I highly encourage everybody to watch it. And I thank Nem for bringing this to my attention. Thanks, Nem.
Do you, when you were watching it, do you feel it's like a solely Pakistani thing? Because I felt there were a connection between. Remember, Sujoy, we went to watch the Leena Yadav's Parched. Remember that movie we saw at LIF?
Yeah.
Where you have these in Rajasthan, they have these dance troupes with women that go from one village to the other village, and that's my immediate connection to what this was, where you're kind of sex work adjacent, but you're also pretty much bringing titillation to a very male, horny, frustrated audience, and just the overwhelming sense of danger that there is around the whole thing. I just felt like dread watching the 1 hour that I watched. And the other thing that also kind of stood out for me was just the power of these performers, right? Because they're in the worst lit stage. All of these stages just have tube lights. That's it. You have in the dark, you have a rowdy group of, toxic, horny men. These women have no training. They have no support system, and they are becoming stars. And, it's kind of it's insane that they can, pull this off. So that's the kind of thing that was going through my mind. But unfortunately, I didn't get to the end, so I couldn't really, bring to a conclusion. But I feel that's what I was thinking. That I was surprised when you said this is solely Pakistani, where I thought, okay, maybe you have that in other countries in South Asia too, but in different shapes, right? Not in.
Yeah, no, I'll tell you why I thought of this as being solely Pakistani. There were two things. One was the language, because generally when I consume Pakistani content, it tends to be Urdu or Punjabi Urdu stuff, right? It tends to be very, like, the Fawad Khan type of content, or like Dhoop Kinare and stuff, like, like from that kind of stuff. Even like Bakra Kiston Pe, like, I don't have very strong memories of it, but I know I've watched it, but I could understand it. But there's a lot of stuff that the language that these people are using is, what Saad says is like, when I watched the interview, like I got more context out of it. And what Saad said was that this is basically lower class language. That's what you're listening to on screen. And it's not just the gali galoch. It's also like the way that they are talking to each other. And it's an accent and it's a form of, like, well, obviously, like, the stuff in Multan and stuff, I suppose, is Pashto. But, like in even the Punjabi Urdu that they were talking in Lahore, like that was very different from the kind of Urdu that I'm used to, or the Punjabi Urdu that I'm used to. So, like the language for the first time, like, I had to depend upon the subtitles. And that was my first thing. Like, I was like, oh, like what is happening here? Because generally speaking, I don't need subtitles when I'm listening to Pakistani content. So that was my first thing. And then the second thing that I, like slowly as I was watching more and more of it, because at first, like we do have dance bars and stuff in India. So I was like thinking, okay, like this must be like that only. But then, like, as they began explaining the system within which they work, like, the violence and stuff, like obviously I can relate that to like North Indian culture very well. But I was listening to them explain things like Afreen is talking about how the government runs these theater, these theaters where they perform, and how the Arts Council is basically in charge of these dramas and stuff. That to me is insane. Like, why is the government running what is to all intents and purposes, like a chamia bar without the bar quotient? Like, that is just wild to me. Secondly, it was the not just the sexual violence, but the gun violence that these women are undergoing, and the fact that they are in hiding, to a great extent, like all that list of names that they were just talking about, and all three of the women talk about in this documentary, like Uzma talks about it, Afreen talks about it, Rima talks about it, about these women who are attacked by their clients, by the mafia, by the theater owners, by their fans, by, religious fundamentalists, by moralists. Like, literally, people just, not just trying to kill them, like, like some of them are being murdered, but others, like, literally, they're trying to maim these women. And like, that was, like, a real shock to me. And then also the way that they talk about clothes, like Afreen talking about how she is very clear about the clothes that she wears, and she only wears things that are high-necked. Like things like that, and the way that she talks, like Afreen's entire thing about like how she wanted to see herself perform in a music video, and she has these dreams, and the way that she looks at herself on screen. There's this beautiful moment where she is looking at herself perform, and she's explaining to her mother that the crowd went wild in this portion, blah blah blah. And you know what the crowd is like, right? Like you've been introduced to the crowd, and they're just the worst. But she is so in search of validation for her art and for what she's doing. And these women, like, they give it their all. Like, I've never seen people perform this hard on stage. Like, they just fling themselves into their performances. And I don't know, it was a very human story, but it also it seemed to me like it was a very Pakistani story. Like, I feel like there's a universality in the way that you respond to them, but I think it's a very specific story. Yeah. Sal, what do you think?
Like as you were speaking about, all of this, I think I remembered some of the, conversation that folks had around Kandil as well, Kandil Baloch. And recently, I believe, like relatively recently, there was sort of a mini series that aired on, I don't know, maybe one of the Pakistani channels or maybe online exclusively called Bari, which had Saba Kamar playing sort of a fictionalized version of Kandil, not dissimilar to, how Vidya played Silk Smitha in Dirty Picture. And, there was all of this conversation around like what it means to sort of be one of these women, who's staunchly owning her sexuality, monetizing something that she's both marginalized for and then fetishized or objectified for. It's interesting to watch, like real life, like real person testimony about these lives. And the thing is, it is in a way like it is very specifically Pakistani in a way because, I remember growing up, and you had like Hindi movies which were sort of inching back into sort of family viewing respectability in the 90s, right? Like with all of these NRI friendly movies and all of that. And then with Bangladeshi and Pakistani movies, you had TV, which was like really where, all of the respectable content was. And with the movies, especially Punjabi movies in Pakistan, I believe, and in Bangladesh, like most of the movies, they were geared towards a largely male, largely working class audience. And a lot of the performers came from, this kind of almost, theater background, like whether it's like, they're doing like sort of troupe theater or whether it is kind of like, with the actresses coming from someplace, in that like mujra scene. And if you watch a lot of like the dance numbers from the 90s in Pakistani films and the early 2000s, you see that, the choreography is very similar. The dance numbers are very similar to the kind of recordings of the mujras that you still see on YouTube. There's so many videos of these performers doing these like mujra performances. And I think it's also different because while India is and is becoming increasingly more conservative in a lot of ways, Pakistan and Bangladesh to a different extent, maybe to a lesser and more complicated extent, there is that like, theocracy adjacent situation that's existed for a long time. And that means different things for what entertainment looks like, whom it's meant for, who can publicly access it, and so on, and how class and gender intersect in those conversations, and to what extent the people who provide that entertainment are marginalized and what rights they have. So those are some of the things that like I was really thinking of, and like, what that looks like in the age of the internet for someone like Kandil, who, we all know was killed by a family member. So I think it's really, there's something, the film itself, the documentary, it's very kind of frenetic and there's like a camp aspect to it, but it's also deeply, like, the stakes are so high, right? Like, because as you said, these women are in danger of being maimed and killed, and oftentimes are. And one of the women, the oldest woman, I think, of the three, is a trans woman. So that's another whole different set of stakes in trying to survive and in not being seen and also being hyper perceived in other ways. So those were some of the things that like came up for me while watching it. I think there's something so powerful about these stories that like one can't even articulate the mix of like dread and excitement and awe and sadness that one has in reaction to seeing these stories depicted in this kind of format, because for so long these were stories, these were narratives, these were lives that existed at the fringe of our consciousness and still do for most of us, you know. I don't think most people, no matter how well-intentioned they are thinking of, you know, sex workers or people who are performing in that sort of nightlife industry in a way that's not very kind of as Asim said, well lit in the literal or metaphorical sense. We're not really thinking about them on a daily basis other than, with, some maybe a little bit condescending sympathy. And this film is sort of a full-bodied reproach to that kind of condescension, which I appreciated.
Yeah. This documentary is the opposite of gentrification. There still feels like a feeling of real danger, but also excitement and like color and this language that you don't hear anymore. And it, like, just to get back to the documentary, I think it's free to watch on YouTube. It's amazing. I mean, honestly, Sal, if you could put us in touch with the filmmakers, we'd love to talk with them, because I'm going to watch the rest of it and maybe we can continue that conversation then later on. I was going to talk about pizza, but I think we're done with that. I just want to quickly talk about one other thing that I watched. Unless, Amrita, you had something else that you wanted to talk about?
No, because we've been here for a while.
Yeah. We've talked about Showgirls a longer time than we thought, and I want to get to the main conversation with Sal now she's online. Did anybody watch Like Me 50 Times, the new Nora Fatehi song?
No.
I
only watched it once.
Only once? What?
Yeah.
What kind of person are you? I'm
anti-T-series.
I was just going to say, I think that just might be you on this one, Asim.
What? How do you not love Nora Fatehi songs and you have to watch them like 100 times? Like, the thing is, like, I watched them until the point where we've all watched it once at least, right? We know that what the story is. For the people that haven't seen it, it's not just a song. It's an epic storytelling thing in 4 minutes, right? It has emotional ups and downs.
What Subhash Ghai would say is that it's an emotional saga,
Yeah. So it's not just a song. I think people should not just see, it's just a T-series song. There's so many, because everything is going well until Nora Fatehi brings out the handcuffs
and the matchstick and the
matchstick. And things go from 0 to 5,000 really quickly. Yeah, I really enjoyed the song. I really liked the song itself, but I also just like seeing Nora Fatehi on screen, and I like this kind of setting that they did, because it, like, the dances are all very like socially distanced. I don't know if you noticed this. Normally, and I was just like thinking, is this how things will be going forward? Dances will be happening, but they'll be like 70 foot apart from each other and then shot cinematically.
This video is compatible with my social anxiety.
Amrita, you're a fan. I know you're a big Nachi fan. So you weren't blown away by Chhor Denge? Is that the name of the song? No.
I enjoy Nora Fatehi. I don't care. Like, other people get really weird about sexy women that dance, right? Like, I don't care. Like, I enjoy Nora Fatehi. And I think that she could possibly be a good actress if they stop, trying to pen her into like, Sunny Leone light, kind of roles. But I have to say, like, this, like all the other, this is T-series, right? It has to be T-series. Right? Yeah. So, like all the other T-series songs, I have no idea what the song is. Like, I can't remember a single note from it after having seen it. But even as I say that, I remember that she was in Pachtaoge with Vicky Kaushal, and that was one of my shame listens. So, I can't judge you, Asim. Like, we all have our shame.
I actually love Nora, and I have to say, I think Nora gets way less credit than she deserves. She's really, really funny. I think she has really good comedic chops. And, there's oftentimes this conversation that, there can be only one of these girls, So, like, if you praise Nora, like on Twitter, people will get very like angry about it because they'll be like, oh, this is a threat to say Katrina or this person or that person, you know. But the thing is, I think there's room for a lot of girls who can dance and be funny, because we do have a generation of heroines who can't do either. So I would definitely rather see Nora in the movies than like a bunch of like what I call the Chuimui heroines. Like I'd rather see like someone like Nora who's very kind of full-bodied and has this full-throat sexuality, but also has that kind of ditzy old-school comedian chops, like physical comedy chops. She does these really corny videos on YouTube, like, you know, sort of Lily Singh light videos, but like a little bit funnier because she's not Lily Singh. And, you know, she's I think she's like actually a very, very skilled dancer. It's not just, you know, like obviously she's very, very sexy. But with the Chhor Denge video, I actually watched the Chhor Denge video because I'm a big fan of Sachet Parampara, who are the music composer duo that did Kabir Singh's soundtrack, I believe. And so I saw that, and I'm usually interested in their songs, so that's why I watched it. But she can really dance. Like she has that kind of, like she's not Indian, I don't think. She's, I believe, Moroccan-Canadian, but she has that, like, the bhav and the abhinaya, you know, she's like, she has that more than a lot of the, you know, like, desi girls who, you know, are shoehorned into item numbers, you know, this is not Kriti Sanon shade, but it is Kriti Sanon shade. But yeah, like, I'm a big fan, so I'm totally pro Asim giving her videos views, even if they go to T-Series. I'm pro this agenda.
Okay. I was just going to throw shade on what's her name? The Sanjay Mahi child.
Ananya.
Shania, that's her name.
Shananya.
Wait, is Ananya their daughter? Wait, who's Ananya?
Ananya is Chunky and Bhavna's.
Oh, right.
We are at that stage of lockdown right now. Iska baap kaun hai?
But Pitu sent me, I think it was Pitu or maybe it was Maithili. Like somebody sent me like one of those Insta reels sort of a thing of like Shania gearing up, I guess, for her Bollywood debut, and she's just dancing, and oh my god, like people are so mean to this child. Like they call her Supandi and stuff, and like,
oh no.
And she's like, and she's trying her best, you know, like she's like trying to dance, and I'm just like, oh, why do like children, like it's just a form of child abuse to get these kids on screen before they're ready, and they're basically like, you know, an unhatched egg, and they're trying to be like leading ladies on screen, and I'm just like, this is just abuse. Like, don't do this. Like, people will be so vicious to this poor child. So yeah, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about it, Sal. But like, you know, like Nora's never gonna get a fair shake because they're just gonna be like, yeah, she's a sexy woman that dances. So, you know.
No, absolutely. Like even in those like rather sad looking ABCD movies, like I always think, make her the lead. The film will be more interesting if you make the girl who's actually a dancer, like a professional dancer, the lead. You know, it's automatically a more compelling film when the dancer is playing a dancer.
Yeah, I think also with Chhor Denge, I think I like that they kind of stepped away a little bit from Nora, you know, humping the floor like Amrita so legendarily said on the ABCD one. And she really is trying to do something a bit more classical and a bit different. And I really like that. And I also really like the singer, which... Is she also one of the music?
She is. She's part of the composer duo because I think Sachet and Parampara both sing, and then Sachet composes the music and Parampara writes the songs, I believe.
Wow.
Amazing voice. Like, it feels so different from anything that's out there. Like, I would never be talking this long about a T-series song. Like, there's a reason why I am, because it's
I know you got the check
good.
from Bhushan Kumar. Bhushan Kumar, Asim.
Dude, I'll take any check, man. I'm ready to cash out. I've been saying it for 93 free episodes already.
This is all Asim's plot against PewDiePie on YouTube. That's what all of this is geared towards. But I will say one thing. If you do like Sachet Parampara's music, they did score Sunny Deol's son's misbegotten debut, Rehna Tu Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas, I think the film is called. And the album for that, the original soundtrack for that is absolutely gorgeous. It's got some really, really stunning songs. So if you haven't listened to that album, because like, why would you have? I definitely recommend checking it out.
Wait, what's it called again? Rehna Tu what?
It's Rehna Pal Pal Dil Ke Paas. So it's named after his grandfather's, song from Blackmail. And it's just a really, really stunning soundtrack. And both of them sing on the soundtrack. And it's just very kind of dynamic and cool and expansive as a sound. And I really enjoyed it.
It's so funny, like the Deols keep launching like amazing new talent and then it never works for them, but it always works for other people. Like it worked with Imtiaz, like it worked with these guys, I guess. It's hilarious.
Yeah, I think Shankar Ehsaan Loy's, one of Shankar Ehsaan Loy's first soundtracks for a Bollywood film was for a Deol home production, Dil Lagi.
Yeah.
Wow. Which also had good songs.
Such good songs, yes.
Good. Yeah. No, I'm excited for these new composers to come up. These guys and also the guys from Thugs of Hindustan and Dhadak.
Ajay Atul.
I'm happy there's some. Yes. Because I feel like, the old guard is getting a bit stale, and a bit too comfortable. So I'm just happy that the new guard is kind of coming up, because it's been like, remixes all the time. So I can appreciate some new voices, new music, new composition. So that's why I just wanted to give a shout out. Not because I've been watching Nora Fatehi songs 50 times in a row.
I mean, if it was to Asim, this would become Gulshan Kumar presents the Khandaan Podcast,
I see no issues with that whatsoever. Let's wrap up and then we can go to our main review, because we've been just going on and on and on. Sal, where can people find you online?
You can find me online on Twitter at Sal and the Bad Pun. And you're not going to find me saying anything of consequence there, but if you want to come and indulge your taste for bad Bollywood-related wordplay, that's where you can come and find me.
Amrita, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at Amrita IQ and also on my book channel on YouTube at Amrita by the Book.
Sujoy?
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at 93K, and you can follow the Khandaan Podcast on Instagram at Khandaan Podcast.
I'm at Asim Bernie. Drop us an email at youpodcasting@gmail.com, like so many of our listeners have done, and we will read it out on the show because there's no movies releasing anyway, so we need content. Let us know what to do for our 100th episode. We'd love to hear if you have any thoughts about that. It's coming around. It's just around the corner. And that's it. Thanks for listening.
Khandaan Podcast और acting podcast.
If you love to be remembered as the person who gives the best birthday gifts, I'm here to tell you that 1-800-Flowers.com is your ultimate birthday gifting destination. 1-800-Flowers has thoughtful and artfully created options that are guaranteed to deliver the best birthday surprise. Shop thousands of unique gifts at 1-800-Flowers.com for exclusive offers and great values. To order today, visit 1-800-Flowers.com/tunein. That's 1-800-Flowers.com/tunein.